But can you tell me how you've gone from psych ward to best-selling author?
Oh, great question. Um, yeah, so I've been hospitalized on one, two, five different occasions. Um, so th three were inpatient, four were inpatient, and one was outpatient. And actually, it's four different times. Sorry, three inpatient, one outpatient. And my first little psychological getaway was in 2002. And um, and I actually share the story in my book where I talk about some of the trauma that I experienced while in the hospital, which is supposed to be a safe place. Um, but back in the early 2000s, the way that they dealt with mental illness was primarily just drugging you.
Hey, welcome back to Normalize the Conversation. Today I'm here with author, mental health advocate, executive director, Joseph Reid. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am really excited for this conversation. But before we begin, I just want to check in. How are you really?
Me, right? How am I
Yes.
really? I am. I'm doing well. I've recently faced a really difficult situation where I mishandled something, and when I found out about it, I handled it right the correct way very quickly, and it makes me feel very good that I did it, regardless of the fact that I was kind of a jerk for doing it. So yeah, I'm on this upswing from feeling like total trash to wow, I did a good thing. Like I'm making it right. So I'm feeling good today. Thank you for asking. How are you doing today, really?
Thank you for asking me. Not a lot of guests ask me back, but to respond to you, it can be really frustrating when we handle something the wrong way. And I know I
Mm.
tend to beat myself up over it. So to see how you've been able to handle it correctly now and then get yourself back into that groove is amazing. And I love the honesty and vulnerability with that. For me, I am exhausted. I have class in California, but I'm based half of the time in Florida. So my brain is trying to live between two time zones, which I don't do well. And I've been doing it for a little bit, the two time zones, but not the traveling back and forth between it. So I'm exhausted, but loving it, grateful for it, and hopefully going to adjust.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in hearing your story. I know I've heard a little bit of it before, but can you tell me how you've gone from psych ward to best-selling author?
Oh, great question. Um, yeah, so I've been hospitalized on one, two, five different occasions. Um, so three were inpatient, four were inpatient, and one was outpatient. And actually, it's four different times. Sorry, three inpatient, one outpatient. And my first little psychological getaway was in 2002. And and I actually share the story in my book where I talk about some of the trauma that I experienced while in the hospital, which is supposed to be a safe place. Um, but back in the early 2000s, the way that they dealt with mental illness was primarily just drugging you, whereas now they have more of a balanced approach to, dealing with cognitive function along with medication and making sure encouraging us to eat and sleep and all this other stuff that they realize, hey, these things are important. So, after that hospital experience, I wanted to get as far away from any kind of mental health care as I could. And I didn't want anything to do with it. I worked kind of hard to try to stay off of medications because medications that I received in the hospital uh, really did a number on me. I had my first panic attack as a result of a medication that they gave me, Zyprexa, in the hospital, and never having one before, and I was in the hospital like I thought I was dying. So they put me on an EKG machine, and yeah, so I wanted to get away from that, and fast forward 15 years, and I meet this guy Nathan, and when I met him, he was our worship pastor at our church, and he's a big black guy with an amazing voice, and just really talented. He had just gotten out of the hospital when I met him. He had been in a psychiatric hospital here in West Michigan, and so he was a huge advocate for himself and for others. So once I got connected with Nathan, um, he really challenged me to grow and to speak out about my struggle. So I started to become more vocal, but I was still kind of like in his shadow because he was just a big guy. So I was constantly in his shadow. Um, and then I needed to go to the hospital again. And I was scared to go. So Nathan, my buddy Adam, who was my pastor at the time, and my wife, they all drove me up to the hospital, a different hospital that I was than the previous time, and made sure I was safe, got me in there, and had a much better experience. It was an amazing experience where they really took care of me, and I felt safe. I was very well fed. They had like a never ending uh, refrigerator with chocolate milk. Like it was just constantly chocolate milk. So I developed this lactose intolerance while I was there. But man, it was so much fun doing it. Um, and after about 3 weeks, I got out of there. Well, I was in for 2 weeks, came out, and then back for a week. And then after that, I did a couple trips. I went to Washington D.C. with my daughter's 8th grade class from a bus ride from Michigan to D.C. So they had given me Xanax to help me kind of deaden the blow of being on a bus with a bunch of teenagers. And taking Xanax, a milligram of Xanax while you're on a bus with a bunch of preteens or teenagers makes you very influential, or you can be influenced by a lot of stuff. So there were things that were happening around me while I was on this like weird Xanax trip that like have like tattooed themselves at my brain. Like I now constantly say I like turtles, and it's just from that one event from this kid that was sitting in front of me saying I like turtles all the time. But back to the main story. And after the trip to DC, my daughter and I spent a month in Africa with my father-in-law. We went to a small country called Malawi in Central Africa, which their motto is the warm heart of Africa. So that was just a wonderful and a beautiful escape from society. It was very, very third world experience, and yeah, just nice to get away from technology and be around really great people. And then, I at that point I was like, okay, I'm doing better. I want to go back to school because I'm doing better. I have all these unique uh, tools that I've kind of developed through therapy. Like at that time, I'd probably been going through therapy like 7 years, 8 years, and the form of therapy that I was receiving was DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, which I call social skills for dummies. Excuse me. And so, yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to go back to college. So I didn't know what I was going to do for college. And when you don't know what you're going to do, you're just going to do business, right? And I was like 34 or 33. So I go to this guy, and he works in organizational development. And if you're familiar with that job or that term, it's basically a position that people have where they help organizations or people kind of know where they fit, like where their niche is in terms of their skills and passions and all of that. Um, yeah, so I sat down with him for an hour. He gave me a free session. He was a amazingly smart guy. And as I was talking to him about all the things that make me who I am, he was writing them on a whiteboard. And so by the time we got done, and I'm like, so what do I major in college? What do I do? And he said, Joe, there's a lot of great things here. Like you've really accomplished a lot in your life, with, traveling, I've traveled the world, and just, the benefits that I've had just with a good family and amazing kids and a wife. And he says to me, it seems to me that you need something significant to happen in your life that will point you in the direction that'll take this stuff that makes you you, and pushes you in a direction to be able to utilize that stuff for a greater purpose. And we didn't know what that was. And so I walked out discouraged. And I just kind of forgot about it. I went back to college and just started taking like communications courses. I love communications in terms of like speaking, in terms of um, understanding the way that communications works, like the not the technical side, but the other side of it. Kind of like what you're doing right now. It's just talking back and forth is amazing. Except I'm the only one talking. Isn't that awful? And then that was probably about 2016 that I had that conversation. Fast forward 20 to 2018, January 25th, I get a call that my friend, after his third attempt, had taken his life. My friend Nathan, the one that had taken me to the hospital, was my worship pastor. And at that point, um, I became very angry. I became very passionate, and I felt like I was living with this certain, like this skin around me, like a snake will have, and this exterior skin was like pretenses, like of all the things I wanted people to see about me, or the things that I thought would like impress you, Fran, um, and all of that kind of just fell apart because I fell apart, and I just started writing. And when I started writing, uh, a wise friend of mine asked me, do you see this as being all you're going to do? Are you going to write a book and then, impact the people that write a book, or is there more that you want to do? And I was certain that there was more I wanted to do, because when I got that call that my friend had died, I hung up the phone, and one of the most clear ways that I've ever heard what I think to be the voice of God telling me, this is how you're going to, this is, remember that conversation I had with that organizational developer where he needed something to happen to push me in a direction? When this call happened, I knew that all that stuff I had told him was going to point me in a direction and support me in the direction of helping other people that feel broken like me. Um, so yeah, so I just started writing, and I was writing and writing and writing, and I got in connection with a bunch of great authors through a publishing school, and they really walked me through the process. And I had a tremendous cover designer, and yeah, I put the book out there, and it was immediately a national bestseller on Amazon, and on 3 or 4 categories, and a #1 new release in 5 different categories. Um, so, and I think one of the things that really makes it stand out is it's it's lacking the pretense, it's lacking the pretendedness of the Joe that used to be. Although there was a lot of sincerity in that person, compassion in that person, I was still trying to impress you. I was still trying to be something that I wasn't. In my book, in my story, it's just very vulnerable. It's very, you know, it's written like I talk, and I had to really wrestle with my editor to accept that, although it's not proper English, when you read the book, it's like, oh, you're like having a conversation with me. Um, yeah, and people just ate it up. So if you go on to Amazon and just take a look at random reviews, it's 4.9 stars with like 1 2-star, 1 3-star, and the rest are 4 and 5s. So 160 or 70 different reviews. So that's the journey. It was a very hard journey and painful journey, but I think it's when our pain and our passion collide that we find our purpose. And that's what happened with me. A very, very painful event connected itself with my passion of just caring about people. And then what I think is, when a bad situation happens, and if there's a mantra to my life, Fran, it's that God doesn't waste anything. And so a bad situation in my life never gets wasted. The situation with my friend dying, it was tragic, and I'd much rather have my friend here than have my book. Um, but God, and I feel like He directed me in a way to be helpful. And my organization, we reach people in 43 countries. around the world, and it's we have members, and we're working towards becoming a nonprofit. And yeah, that's the long and short of it. So
What a story. I mean, that's a story of pain, perseverance, hope, impact. I mean, you said your journey started in with the first hospitalization in 2002.
that's where my like where we really identified it as mental illness. Although I can go back to second grade in 1983 or four, and my teacher saw something that was going on, even though back in the 80s it wasn't really identified as mental illness.
Wow. So your journey has been years and years in the making, decades in the making.
Yes,
So to go from so mental illness can feel very isolating, can feel really debilitating, can feel very confusing, frustrating. There's so many words to describe it. So to go from that point to where you are today, impacting people, is beyond incredible. And on behalf of everyone whose lives you're impacting, thank you for the work that you're doing.
that's sweet. Thank you.
And I really want to bring it back to, like you said, in the 80s, early 2000s, it was a very different world with mental health and the way
Sure,
we faced it and treated it.
sure,
And I mean, we have ways to go today. So we're not in any way saying that everything's perfect now.
right.
But back then, I mean, to go straight to being medicated. And
Mm-hmm.
then when you're out, you said like the Xanax,
Mm-hmm.
the causing the panic attack. Did you have any kind of understanding of the medication and how it was going to impact you? Was it something that was completely new that you were like, I guess I just have to take this and see how it goes? What were your thoughts at that time?
Yeah, so I remember sitting in front of the psychiatrist 2002 at the hospital, and I just happened to recently find my journal from 2002. I've been journaling since 2002, not daily, but I talk about the importance of journaling in my book. And I was sitting in front of my psychiatrist at the hospital in a dark room. He never looked at me once. He would ask me to tell him stuff, and he would just write down, you know, symptoms or whatever, and just like, oh, you're going to take Klonopin, you're going to take Risperdal, you're going to take Zyprexa, you're going to forget what else he had me, Prozac, um, and didn't even look at me the whole time. And I guess from that moment on, I knew there was something wrong with the process, and I knew that I was 100% confident, and I still am today, that medication isn't the answer. It's part of the answer, but and do I think there's something beyond medication? Do I think that there is healing for mental illness? Well, if we're talking it, if we compare mental illness to like a broken arm, if we compare it to cancer, if we compare it to all these other things, we don't go around saying, "Well, I got a broken arm, and it's always going to be a broken arm." No, we do things about it. Like we have to believe, and I have to believe that there is another side to this broken Joe. Um, and I call my group Broken People because when I'm at a lowest point, I feel broken. That's it's not to be a slam on anybody. It's just how I feel. And then when I started Broken People, my organization, I just hoped that there was other people. I hoped in the sense that I could build a community, not that there were other people that felt broken like me, but and there are. And I've had this love-hate relationship with medication. The side effects have really kicked my butt in a lot of ways. And but my wife seems to think they work. I understand that I'm not as smart as doctors, and she believes very strongly that my mood changes, and I have to trust her. Part of being mentally ill is you got to trust the people around you that care about you, and I think she's probably right. So I keep taking the medications. I keep dealing with the side effects, um, because the overall benefit outweighs the negatives to it. I was never a fan. Um, it's one of those necessary evils, I guess, maybe, although it's not that evil.
In the beginning, when I was first presented with taking medication, it was in the psych ward, and I was given an antidepressant, and I live with bipolar disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very common that someone with bipolar disorder will be sent into a manic episode
Mm-hmm.
as a result of an antidepressant, which is what
Yes.
happened to me. And it was terrifying. Something that was supposed to help me ended up having me screaming at my parents, begging them to stab me.
Yeah.
And that was completely overwhelming. And it made
Yeah.
me very skeptical of medication for a very long time. I do take medication and mood stabilizer every single day, and that has worked wonders for me and helped me so much.
Yeah.
But I've also been prescribed anxiety medication that had really bad side effects that weren't right for me.
Yep.
And it takes a lot sometimes to what's the word I want to use? It takes a lot sometimes to say, sometimes medication does not work for me, and sometimes it does, and to separate
Sure.
that out because one bad experience can really overshadow the good
Sure.
and the benefits.
Absolutely.
But with medication, I mean, it took a long time to find the one that was right for me. And I think that's something that's very common. It sounds like that kind of happened to you, finding the wrong ones and then getting to the right one. Your
Well,
experience with that, what was that like?
yeah. So, I mean, as we talk about, we have, you said it so well that we have a way to go with mental health, and one of those things that one of those places that we need to get to is get beyond the place of experimentation.
Yes.
Basically, you go in there. When I was in 2002, I was diagnosed with manic depression, which is now bipolar, and that was completely wrong. But they were treating it like that, and I began to experience these episodes of mania that I don't know were directly related to the medication, but regardless, it was around the same time as the medication. And I think a lot of people can relate to this feeling of feeling like a guinea pig, like they're just
Yes.
throwing medications at it. And what's so significant to me now versus then is that there is this realization of balance that somewhere along the line they started listening to people like me or people like you that said, this may be part of it, but there's so much more we need to do in this great dance towards healing.
Yeah.
And somebody like myself that's an introvert, that's very socially awkward, and being able to address those issues is a path towards healing. Going to the gym is a path towards healing. If we understand the brain health to be just really complicated physical health, right? Because I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, even as a person of faith, I identify the fact that we have chemicals and we have electricity and all the stuff firing in our brains that really impacts and is impacted by the decisions we make. So everything that we do, from me being respectful to you on this call or being excited to be on this call, to go into the gym, um, from being honest or telling you a lie about my life, those things impact and begin to actually literally shape your brain. You talk about neuroplasticity and the way the brain reforms itself through
Yes.
years, and it's amazing. But that happens based upon the decisions we make now. And yeah, I don't like being treated like a guinea pig. And I think that one of the things that really could happen is just more research into, the genetics. I know there's some genetic testing that gets done to determine what medication may work better. I know there is a long way to go with that. Um, I was just thinking too. I have several friends that deal with a bipolar diagnosis, and they were given steroids for something, and that initiated in them major mania, where they had to be hospitalized. Every single one of my friends that are bipolar were given. They have a situation going on where they've taken steroids that's negatively impacted their bipolar disorder. And yeah, I just being able to get your therapist, your psychologist, psychiatrist, and your primary care physician to talk to each other, to be able to understand a larger picture of what's going on inside of your head, what's going on in your family, your environment. Um, that's tricky stuff. But I'm fortunate to have a really good primary care and great therapist.
A comprehensive approach is really what we need. And
That
it's
sounds really
like,
smart.
thank you. Can you tell I'm a psych student? So it's
Nice.
something that we really, really need and have been lacking for so long. However, there is promising research. Dr. Amen is actually scanning our brains and doing SPECT scans. This
Mm-hmm.
is something that is very inaccessible for a lot of people due to the price. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that one day I would like to be able to do, but have not yet financially made that decision.
Right.
But it's very promising to see that we're moving toward a point where maybe in the future it won't be a guessing game because like you said, I hate being a guinea pig. I hate
Yeah.
feeling like it's all a guessing game.
Hmm.
It drives me. I do not like feeling that maybe this will work, maybe this won't. And
Right,
I am
right.
totally open to experimenting because that's the option that's available now. And I'm very passionate about finding what's right for me. So
Sure.
it's not saying that I don't allow for the experimentation because I know that that's right now is the approach. However, I am so excited for the fact, like the idea that one day it won't be like, try this medication. Oh, that sent you into a manic episode. That led you in the hospital. Okay, let's
Yeah,
try something else. Hopefully, we won't
yeah,
have those negative side effects.
sure.
Yeah, we're getting somewhere.
We are. But the more and more people like you and I speak up, the more and more it gets the attention that it needs to get. Yeah, that's all I'm trying to do with what I'm doing. I'm not trying to make a name for myself, but just trying to just be faithful with my story and maybe help one more person if I can.
And that is the most powerful thing anyone can do. Our stories change everything. I mean, NAMI, they do the ending the silence presentations, right?
Yep.
I
Yep.
have done like 5 of those in the past 24 hours. I love
Wow.
doing them. I have one right after this, actually. I absolutely love doing them. One of my favorite things to do. And we do have the power to end the silence by having these conversations. It
Yeah.
starts with us and by speaking out, sharing our stories, which can be terrifying. I still
Yes.
remember how afraid I was the very first time. I had wrote this long blog post and I was like, do I do it? Do I not do it? Do I do it? Do I not? And I sat there for like 30 minutes, like publishing, unpublishing, publishing, unpublishing before I was like, nope, okay, it's time to do this. It can be terrifying, but it's so freeing on at least on my end. And it's
Yeah.
so amazing the response. We are really ending that silence.
Yeah. I my experience with that, through NAMI and through Broken People, I've worked with law enforcement throughout Michigan, um, and my story is quite painful related to law enforcement because I used to work for a police department, and um, and it wasn't a great experience for me. So, and that was in 1998. And so this last year in 2021, through NAMI, I had opportunity to go speak to our local university of their police academy. And they didn't know when they had me come in that I had been a former law enforcement. And so when I began to share my story and the painful part of my story in relationship to law enforcement, um, it began to resonate on a whole different level with these future officers and now with several departments. I'll be traveling to Wisconsin next month, talking to several agencies in central Wisconsin about my story and about the importance of mental health for both our public safety uh, people and how that impacts our communities and yeah, and it's been an amazing experience. But again, it's that pain of our story when it collides with our passion of loving and connecting with people, where you've found your purpose, at least for now, and that very well may change in the next decade or so, depending upon what other pains or what type of other life experiences you have. But I have no doubt that it's going to be an amazing ride for you.
Thank you. And same for you. I mean, the work that you're doing is incredible. And I really want to talk about your book, Broken Like
Sure.
Me. I love that name, first of all, because when I was struggling, I felt broken. I felt absolutely broken inside. And I felt like I had to stay broken. And like you said, with the arm, when arm is broken, like, oh, that's it, broken arm forever. But that's
Yeah,
genuinely how I felt. And
yeah.
I mean, the name of your book is just right away resonate with that feeling. But how'd you come up with that name? I'm
it's
so
it's it's
interested.
it's such a better name than my original name. Like you go through all these, like as you're writing a book, like the title of the book is like the last thing you come up with, and it's funny because I was just telling my daughter this is like my 44th podcast interview, and it always comes up in the podcast where I'll say something to the effect of where people feel broken like me, and it was by accident that I came up with this title. Because when you write a book, you want to have a common thread through it all, and the one thing I can relate to is just being broken. So I began to look up cliche. I googled cliches with the word broken, and then I sent this one out there. And the subtitle, um, my friend Megan came up with this. My friend Megan and Becca, an insider's toolkit for mending broken people. And like my cover designers killed it. You know
Oh, they
the
did.
I mean, it looks like it's all taped up, and you see the broken okay,
Yes.
like
I love that.
subliminal messages. Oh, look, the Jungle Book. But yeah, it was. And now that we have these conversations, like I have no doubt that that story speaks honestly about my experience, and honestly, when I wrote the book, I had one person in mind. There's a mom in New Jersey, a single mom. When they talk about writing, one of the best things you can do as a writer is to in my school they talked about an avatar. Is think about the person that you want to reach the most with this book. When you stand on stage and you begin reading these chapters, who in the audience is going to be the one that's so broken or crying or laughing so much, so the most impacted person, and then you write to that person. So this mom in New Jersey, uh, her name is Dana, and I was like, that's the kind of person I want to reach. The middle-aged mom, making ends meet, a really troubled religious background. I said, I want this book to speak to her. So when you go through the book, it changes it from being a plural audience to being about you and me.
Oh,
So when I say the word like you, like I'm picturing her reading my book, and I know when I reached her that I would reach at least 100 other people, and apparently a lot more. And that makes it, I don't know. I just want to help people, and I'm quite clueless on how to do that, other than just being honest and sitting here and having a genuine conversation with a very lovely person.
Honesty, vulnerability, authenticity genuinely is the best way to get to someone's heart and to connect. I mean, for so long, especially with mental health, conversations have been so superficial because there just weren't enough conversations. There wasn't enough awareness. People didn't know how to validate, how to support, how to
Yeah,
actively listen. It was more, I have to respond to this. And I don't know how, so I'm just gonna change the topic. And
yeah,
so to have someone being so just honest. I mean, I know for me, the first time someone was completely honest and I heard it, I was like, wait, I feel that way too. And I'm not alone. Like,
right.
mind blown.
Yeah, and in the same way, not everybody should be as honest as we are if they don't have the support that you and I have.
Yes.
Um, I'm able to do this to be able to put my book and my story out there for the whole world to see. Because if there is like a negative after effect of that, I have a crew of people that I can go to for support. And I really think it's important the words that we use in how we talk together, and really to avoid uh, latching on to phrases and words that are really limiting with mental illness, like the word stigma. Um, I have a problem. There should be a stigma around the word stigma. I just don't like the word, but I understand the concept. There's another phrase that's okay, which is it's okay to not be okay. Like the intention behind that is really good, but if you think about it in terms of a broken arm, it's really not okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
So by saying it's okay to be not okay, like you're telling somebody it's okay that you're suffering. It's okay, like, and that's good. But what is not good is for people to stay that way. Like
Yeah.
we need to be not okay with not being okay, and begin to do the things like going to the gym, talking to family members, being on really excellent podcasts or listening to an excellent podcast, and make sure you're giving 5 stars to excellent podcast. Wink, wink. Um, yeah, and we just got to be really careful that in my book, at the end of every chapter, there's a section. It's called utilization. You see that there? Spelled
Yes.
YOU. So, in a lot of books and a lot of places, and rightfully so, they'll give you this formula for living, and they'll say to you, if you do X, Y, it'll equal Z. And I don't think that that's how life works. Like when I went through DBT, and I'm sure that you've done this with different things, like you adapt things to fit your
Yeah.
life. So I introduce some principles in here, and then at the end of every chapter, I do this utilization section where I challenge the reader to take the principles that I've introduced and make it their own. What I did with my therapies, I called it Joeizing. I utilized what they taught me and made it my own, and I kind of walk the reader through how to do that. Um, yeah, I don't even know if that was an answer to a question or not. I just my brain just kind of took off.
No, that was amazing. I I agree with everything you said. I mean, it is
Yay!
it's
You're not kicking me off.
okay. It's okay not to feel okay,
Right.
100%.
Yep.
But it's not okay to stay that way because you deserve better. I mean,
Yep.
you deserve to be happy and to feel
Yep.
good and to wake up and be excited to get out of bed. It's
Yep.
totally normal to have those days where you don't, but it does not have to be every single day, it does not have to be your life. You are 100% right. And to your point of adapting to you, that was one thing when I wrote my workbooks as well. I was so
Mhm.
tired of people telling me A plus B equals C. Like, great,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
works for you.
Right.
I need to know what works for me. So when I wrote my workbooks too, it was a guide that helps you find the tools that are right for you. It's
Mhm.
not the solution, it is not your answer. It's a guide to explore yourself and
Right.
come up with the answers that are right for you. Because I can't tell
Yeah.
you what coping skill works for you. I can't look at you and be like, oh, you seem like the kind of person who likes meditation. That's your coping skill. I
Yeah.
can't guess that. I can't assume. And as much as I appreciate people creating these resources that want to help, and it all comes from really great
Sure.
intentions and kind hearts, it's one of my biggest pet peeves is that A plus B equals C formula for
Right.
mental health.
Right.
Because this is not math, this is not statistics, this is not science, this is not a one size fits all, research proven, this is going to work for you.
Yeah.
It's something that may work for you, or you might have a different coping skill. You might have a different self care
Yeah.
routine. You might have a different symptom or trigger. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be kind of that standard expectation everyone has.
Right. Right on. Preach it, sister. Oh wait, there's a ferocious animal behind you.
There is.
Don't be scared.
My dog is, I don't know if you can see her. There she is.
Yeah.
Um, she is my favorite thing in the whole world. My camera roll right now has 250 pictures that I can't delete from yesterday of her just
If
smiling.
you're listening to this and you're not seeing the video, just picture like this cotton ball with eyes behind her, and that's the dog. What's the dog's name?
Tiffany,
Oh, that's great.
my little Fifth Avenue diamond. I love her
That's cool.
more than life. And
I
she's
just
one of
watched
my
Breakfast.
coping skills.
Yeah, yeah,
She,
dogs are great.
like,
I was gonna say I watched Breakfast at Tiffany's with my wife.
love
Um,
that movie. Been
yeah,
my
good
favorite
movie.
movie since I was 5. Love
Yep,
that movie. Concept
yep.
went right over my head back in the day, though. Had no idea she was an escort.
Same, same. I watched it this year and like, holy crap, what's going on here?
Someone explained it to me in college, my roommate, so I forced to watch it with them. And they're like, do you even understand it? And
Hmm.
they like, I was like, how could, no, I did not. How did I miss this?
It's
No
all about
idea.
sex work.
Right? Mind blown.
Yeah,
But I love how we went from mental health to sex work. This is
yeah,
great.
exactly. There's a direct connection.
Direct.
Don't even get me started.
So, one thing that you say that I absolutely love is if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of me.
Hmm.
And I need you.
Yes.
Tell me about that phrase.
Yeah. So when I was presenting to law enforcement, I was kind of walking around the academy and just kind of thinking about what I could offer. And I just began to think about, one of the things I remember going through the academy in 1997 in Flint, Michigan. And if you remember the Flint water crisis,
Yeah.
that's where I went to the academy.
Wow.
And this idea that you don't take your homework, your work home with you, which is completely unreasonable
Yeah.
because you can't like I can't switch from police Joe to home Joe and expect the situations in either part of those Joes to not affect the other. And I think we're realizing that more and more is that there's this overlap, a complete overlap, not even like a little bit. Like when you talk about wise mind being the overlap of emotional mind and logical mind,
Yeah.
I am who I am when I'm working, when I'm on a podcast, when I'm talking to my kids. Like, there's no difference, and I think that's really important to realize and really important to practice. Um, so, one of the main things I talk to officers about is this idea of if you're not okay, what does that mean for? Okay, so if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of me. Like who are the me's in your life? Because they have wives, they have kids, they have community members. There are people on the streets that they help all day long. But if you got somebody that's not taking care of them and they have a gun, and they're given all this power and authority, it can be dangerous and it can be detrimental to our society. So I talk a lot about, from my experience, mental health care for officers, taking care of themselves, making sure that their cups are full and overflowing so that they begin to pour into the lives of other people. But the moment that you use like if alcohol becomes a coping skill, if sex or if television becomes your coping skill, like those are coping skills, but they're maladaptive coping skills. They're not helping you. They're really pushing issues to the side to be addressed later. And guess what happens when the pot's boiling, right? That lid's going to fly off. And that's when those pressures of life really build up and begin to have a tangible negative impact on the people that whoever you're with, whether you're a teacher, a person of influence. Like think about all the people that are on stages, teachers, law enforcement officers, preachers, people with podcasts, shows. You're people of influence, but if you pretend to be something that you're not, if you pretend to be above human, like I don't know if you ever heard a pastor preach, but a lot of times, most of the time, it's like, oh, you're just way below me. You're not. I don't struggle with these things, or this is how you should live because I live this way. That's unrealistic. And we have those unrealistic expectations on teachers. We have it on police officers when they're just humans that struggle, that feel broken like me, like I do. And so acknowledging the fact that you, as a podcaster, Fran, if you don't take care of you, you're not going to do a very good job hosting and taking care of me as your guest. And I need you to.
Yeah.
And your audience needs you to take care of you. So you said a little bit ago that you haven't slept for 36 hours.
I slept last night. I
Oh,
hadn't
you did?
slept for
Okay. All
36
right. I was
hours.
going to call you out. But I'm glad that you did. Um, I had the sweet tea right here. It's always my go-to drink for podcasts.
Oh, I
But,
love
I've
that.
also got my 125 ounces of water that I'm drinking today because water is diamonds for life. That is what I'm convinced it's essential for mental health.
Oh,
I
it
don't know, but like there's nothing more pure for our bodies than water, except for Flint water.
is.
That was not so pure. Did that answer your question?
I think so. I think that did answer my question.
I
And
was like all over the place.
it was, but it was really good because I said because so many times. Wow.
Why?
You
Because
can't, exactly. You can't, you have to take care of yourself. You
yes,
have to take care of yourself. And that is something that I have struggled to learn. I mean, like you said, I didn't sleep for 36 hours because I hopped on a plane, went to class. I didn't have anywhere to sleep. I had 8 hours or 10 hours before I even had class. And I hopped back on a plane, got home, and then did like 2 ending the silence presentations, then made dinner for my grandmother, watched the movie with her, and then
Mm,
finally went to bed. And it was so much. I genuinely didn't make the time within that time frame to take care of myself. And
mm,
any people like you calling me out on it. My friends definitely called me out on it. And I was like, I know,
mm.
you're right.
Oh,
I can't argue. You're right. I'm wrong. And I did finally sleep. But if we don't take care of ourselves, I was a tired, angry little thing last night. I
mm.
was so frustrated. Someone spoke to me and I was like, I can't respond. This
Did you
morning,
punch him in the throat?
I wish. No.
Oh, he didn't.
No, I
Okay.
don't wish. That's bad.
My
But
wife does that. I'm just kidding. Sorry, honey. Wherever you were listening.
I definitely like was driving to UPS and like everyone who like cut me off, I was yelling.
Oh.
It's a good thing that people can't hear me because my road rage was bad, bad, bad. If we don't take care of ourselves, it comes
Yeah.
out misplaced anger,
Yeah.
misdirected frustration,
Yeah.
and it affects us and it affects those around us.
Yeah. And with my story with my friend Nathan, and I share this with the police officers too, he had 8 adopted children,
Wow.
and he was a huge advocate for mental health
Yeah.
to his detriment. He gave and gave and gave because he cared and he struggled and he knew the pain of dealing with a severe mental illness. But when that empty, when your glass gets empty and you have no more life inside of you, that's when your life feels wasted and you get thrown in the trash. And when you're thrown in the trash, that broken part, like you become broken. And what happens when you're broken? Like think of a shattered glass. You begin to cut the people around you. You begin to hurt the people around you. How do you get to that place where you can be a full glass again, where you can be filled up with life, where you can be filled up with the ability to fill other people up? And it's a long process of recovering the pieces and putting them back together. And we got to be patient. And it's really been hard for me to be patient since 2002 to continue to get those little pieces of the broken Joe back in place so I can have anything to offer you or the people that are listening today.
Patience is a virtue and it's one I wish I had. It's
Yes.
really hard when you want a quick fix because no one wants to feel broken all the time. No one wants
Right.
to feel sad and worthless and hopeless. Like, no one wants to feel extremely angry and not able to control themselves. We
Right.
don't want to feel this way. And acknowledging that sometimes I might, and it may take, I can do every self care thing possible, every coping skill at my disposal, and
Mm-hmm.
only feel a teeny tiny bit better. And it may take, and it has taken months and years to get to a place where the mirrors kind of half put back together or
Mm.
quarter put back together. It does not happen overnight. That is the hardest part, I think, of the journey because as
Yeah.
someone with no patience, I mean, I grew up in the generation where Amazon delivers same day. Like we don't
Yeah.
watch commercials, we have no
Right.
idea. So it's
But you're,
hard.
you're you're at school. I mean, you have to stick with the program for what you're. Are you in your 4-year college? Are you working your master's degree or
I'm working on my second master's. So I have
what the
no
heck? That's
patience with
crazy.
this.
So my book took 4 years, and the whole
Wow.
idea of like never knowing how it's going to come together, it's just like how the patience of that was just ridiculous. Um, yeah, but it's essential. You know, a key thing that we do with patience is mindfulness, right? Where we take a second to sit back and think about what we're thinking about. And there's a couple things that you've brought up that I think is really awesome. And the way I do that mindfulness thing, and I talk about in my book, is journaling. Um, and the importance of just taking the time to slow down and write my thoughts down. That has been a huge game changer for me. And there's actual scientific research on the benefits of journaling and cognitive disclosure. And then another thing that you brought up was super important is those friends. And as adults, we do friendship pretty suckily. So I've got 180 pages where I talk about how do you do friendship as an adult, and really it starts by befriending yourself, figuring out who you are and liking you. But the thing is, when I talked about that shell earlier about the Joe that everybody else saw, if I'm changing who I am for the people around me, then I lose track of myself and I don't even know what I like. because it changes with everybody around me. But as soon as I let that those scales fall and I began to like come out of my shell, uh, talking about liking turtles, it's you begin to identify things about yourself and you begin to be honest with people and you lose friendships that
Yeah.
were never healthy for you in the first place because you were trying to be something you weren't. And you began to gain these deeper friendships where you have friends that will call you to the plate in terms of your own health. So those are two of the major tools I share in my book because they saved my life: journaling and friendship.
Mine too. I mean, I've been so lucky to have some of the most amazing friends. And I don't have a big like circle of friends by any means, but the ones that I have,
Yeah,
amazing. First of all, I love when people call me out. If I do something wrong, call me out because I want to learn. I love
mm,
to be called out and I love to argue sometimes. So can't say that you're always gonna win. However, you're probably right, and eventually I will admit it. So, but I love that they're willing to call me out and be like, you need to sleep. You need to eat more. You need to exercise. You need to do something. You need to take a break. I love having friends who are so in touch with
mm,
their own mental health and very aware. And they'll share that awareness with me when I'm not being super aware, and vice versa. I'll do the same for them. It is just friendship, I think, is one of the most amazing things. And doing friendship as adults is very different. I'm still like really not looking forward to the day where it's not like, oh, come sleep over every other night. That's not going to be fun. I'm
right.
not looking forward to that day. However, it's amazing when you have people who are just there to show up. One question I really want to ask, because first of all, I want to say I am so sorry for your loss of your friend. And I also lost someone who kind of I used that loss to be able to do my work. It
Sure.
really it changed a lot for me, and it helped motivate me and pursue sharing my story and opening up. And that's something that I've wrestled with a lot because part of me feels guilty for admitting that because I lost them, I am where I am and I'm doing so much good work. And would I be there without that loss? And I don't find a lot of people who have a similar experience like that. So I'm wondering for you, what is that experience like?
Like how I've
That might have been a bad way to ask the
no no I
question,
no
but
I no I get you. Like how
yeah.
to be able to take that pain.
And turn it into purpose and be okay with that.
Like that was confirming to everything that I've believed for my whole life, is that there is this transformation, as a person of faith, that I think that God can do in my life, that he doesn't waste anything. Like my law enforcement experience, this tragedy, and this idea of redemption. Like how do you take a bad situation and you redeem it to be something good? And I think, aside from faith, like you can take situations with police violence or Congress that's so screwed up and redeem it by being patient and being selfless. And I feel guilt for this all the time. It was my friend who took his life, and then my cousin just a few months later took his life. And I don't know what else to do that other than to scream from the mountaintops, I'm here. I want to help you. Your life has purpose. You're not alone. Um, I can't stop myself. This journey to write a book is just it just happened. Um, and on top of that, we're dealing with, you and I and probably many of your listeners are dealing with that internal pain that we already had in the first place, of
Yeah.
that self-doubt and suicidal ideations. And
Yeah.
all I know how to do is, in this moment with you, Fran, and with those that are listening, to be all here, to be all vulnerable, and just hope that through this painful experience and through my honesty, that I'm helping you, that I'm making a difference for you. Because there's nothing else I have to offer. I can't pretend to be something not I'm not, and I can't pretend to be it was a good situation. But I'm gonna take a shitty situation and I'm gonna put some flowers in it, and I'm hoping to see some growth. But it's hard to grow things when you don't have shit. Um, and I believe that, yeah, I hate when bad things happen, but they do happen, and we have to learn from them, or we're gonna, yeah, it's not gonna be a good situation. But
Everything happens for a reason.
yeah, yeah, I believe that.
You have been absolutely incredible. Before we wrap up, how can people buy your book, get connected with you, learn more about you?
Yeah, before that, forget about buying the book, forget about me. Like, who in your life have you not reached out to? Who have you not heard from recently? Please check on those people. Um, my book's on Amazon. It's Broken Like Me. My name is Joseph Reid. I got a website. She'll probably put some links below. Forget about that. What elderly person in your life haven't you heard from? What friend haven't you heard from? Check in on them. It doesn't matter if you think they're okay, because a lot of people that struggle the most are ones that have the really great mask on. Um,
Yes.
yeah, and keep tuning into this show. That's what I want you to. That's what I want you to take away from this.